Hello, I'm Kochanski, Wilderness Living Skills and Survival Instructor. Today's topic is a little bit about various axes. Now, in previous talks we said that this is a very nice compromise between an axe that will do a lot of heavy work and yet still be portable. And perhaps the Swedish axe, the Swedish Army issue axe, is probably maybe even closer to the definition of the ultimate survival axe from my perspective. Your perspective might be different. But we have other axes that you might want to know a little bit about the background. Now here's an axe that's made in Germany, and it's relatively inexpensive. And as far as I'm concerned, it must follow the definition very, very closely, and even has the point that for an orange handle as opposed to something that falls in the grass and you can't find it. The axe maker here, this one here, is a very long, the earliest axe maker in Sweden, the oldest axe maker, Hultbruk. And you probably have heard more about these these axes here. These are the Granfors axes. Now you can see the comparison of a Granfors to this. Granfors became very popular because Raymond Mears promoted this axe. Now I would say that this is not as hefty, maybe more portable, and a lot of different things about it, but I'm saying that this is what I would prefer as a survival axe, and there are other people who recommend this as a survival axe, and they would have to use their own terms to prove it. But it's become very popular because it's the axe that ended up being promoted. Here's many different sizes, probably $120 here where I live to buy the axe, smaller versions, but similar blade. And this is another Swedish maker that actually put this axe in my hand to ask me what my opinion was. And this axe, you can see, is more like this in size. Size, to remind you, take an axe, and if you want to know what's the optimal size, is put the head of the handle in somewhere in there. Give or take a few centimeters and whatever, as far as the axe handle is concerned. Here we have an axe that has a handle that perhaps should be as long as this, but the head is even heavier than this. And actually, when you look at the blades, the weight is in the thickness of the blade. Now that's what I call a splitting axe. And knowing many, many years ago, you can see that this is so long ago I put the handle on that it's weathered a great deal. Most of my axes stay outside a great deal. Here we tried to stay within this size, but with a twice as heavy head. And eventually I gravitated back to this weight. This is probably almost 3 pounds. This too, this definitely is a splitting axe, but at the time we didn't know the issue so much. If your blade is really thin and you drive it into a tree at 45 degrees and you have to wrench to pull it out, that's very tiring and loosens the handle. If you swing with a blunt type axe, you drive it in and it bounces right out. That's very tiring as well. So you got to have an axe that it penetrates as deep as possible, takes the slightest amount of wrench to disengage it from the cut. Other axes that come up here is something that is used in Russia a great deal, China. The handles, usually this is a handle that might be prepared for optional sale, but usually you trade the head and then make your own handle, and it's put on the way pick handles are put on. That is, you do it from the reverse, that when I swing an axe, the head wants to fly off. So if this is bigger at the eye than it is, like with these axes here, this is bigger and there's a splint in there, so it spreads it so the axe doesn't want to fly off by centrifugal force. Well, by putting it on this way, you find that the axe handle wedges aren't required, and then when you don't need to store the axe without the handle, but the handle is round, and you can see that there has to be a situation where the gravity causes you to point the leading edge in coordination with what you haul, whereas with the handles, they're oval or whatever in shape. Similar to this is the hatchet that is packed in the survival kits, probably in the Finnish army. And here, it's the reverse, in that you've got to drive your stick in that way, it's pointed that way, and then a pin is put in to keep the head from flying off. And then when you want to put it back in your kit, it's easy for you to pound it out and put the head back. So it's made in reverse. Here's another chopping tool. This is a shovel. I don't carry shovels anymore because I will probably have a video that will show how to get by without a shovel using a sharpened pole, where we can dig holes faster with that pole than you can with a shovel. But we used to sharpen these edges, and then you could limb, and actually for wrist-thick trees it was sufficient to fell the tree by using the shovel as the chopping tool. So for summer camping, sometimes you might choose to use that, and in the case of having a device like that, there's some merit to having the shovel that's a little flatter than that. But this is standard issue, some kind of military issue shovel that I've used. At any rate, you have to realize that there are many axes to choose from. Oh, another one is this one. This one is often recommended by people who want to pack axes in survival kits because of the indestructible nature. This is called an east wing. I don't know where the technology comes from, and I don't know about the makers. But personally, I could never really use this axe very well. And they make it so ultralight that this axe would be called a limbing axe. Almost everything that I use to define an axe that works within the parameters of being properly balanced and everything seems to be disregarded when it comes to the east wing axe. Mine, keeping in mind it's indestructible, but all the other features make it an axe that perhaps is dangerous to use, because if you're used to using a well-balanced, properly configured axe, and then you take hold of an east wing, you find it doing all kinds of unexpected things and so on. But I guess if you were brought up with this axe, it'd be fine. But I personally have never really felt comfortable using this style of axe. Again, the people have picked a length and so on. But at any rate, you realize that there are many axes to choose from, and that is a good approach because you decide what your intentions are and then match the axe to the intention. A carpenter is not going to use a survival axe. A person who's splitting wood is not going to use a camping axe that much to split large amounts of wood for the fireplace or for the stove at home, etc. But I keep reminding, if you want to have an eyeful of what I consider to be the axe that fulfills the requirements of being included in a survival kit, you're looking at it right there.